Some parents are furious right now after a church and school allowed a registered offender to work there.
This stuff hurts people and hurts the church and hurts the gospel. And the people that do this are not just enemies of the church and enemies of young people. These people that do these things, that cause these harms, these people are enemies of Jesus Christ.
Members of a Tarrant County church started a petition to force out their pastor after learning the pastor's son, a registered sex offender, was working at the church.
Tears behind my eyes. I was ready to just drown in tears, thinking that something else happened to another kid.
So there's this story out of Texas that is completely infuriating. It's called Heritage Baptist Church in Hazlet, Texas, I believe. And it's a situation where the pastor's son committed a terrible crime, according to the state of Texas, and had to be put on a lifelong sex offender registry, which is bad enough, but the church actually put him on staff later on and even made him the song leader of the church. And somebody cried foul over it, and it's been an ongoing drama fest over there. And we're going to talk about it in today's video. Don't go away. I'm telling you, man, this stuff drives me nuts. It is a terrible, sacred betrayal of the local church to just gloss over abuse and such like that. And I'm gonna be a vocal voice speaking out against this going forward. Check out our film that we did. It's been 10 months now, believe it or not, called Disclosure, a sequel to God's Millstone. And check that out there on the interwebs, our YouTube channel here. And by the way, since you're here, go ahead and like and subscribe, if you will. We cover a lot of topics like this. But also check out our book, The Empire of Error, available now on Amazon. And we talk about stuff like this and explain to you basically why there is a wing of the independent Baptist world that is just eat up with scandals and whatever, and they just cover them all up. Ultimately, it's because they don't believe in the qualifications of a bishop, but that's okay. We'll just rebuke them in Jesus' name and go off and start our own crowd and make it much bigger than theirs. But anyway, let's check out this story. I have not really covered this story to the fullest extent because I was kind of curious where it was going to land and what all was going to happen. But here's the deal, okay? What you have is a church where the pastor's name, I believe, is Eric Crawford. And just as an AI overview of it, Heritage Baptist Church, Hazlet, Texas, faced severe backlash when parents discovered that Pastor Eric Crawford hired his son Caleb Crawford, a convicted lifetime registered sex offender, as an independent contractor working on campus and in the church's private school, Christian Heritage Academy. And so, basically the parents learned Caleb Crawford was working as a janitor and music leader. He was arrested by Fort Worth police in February for failing to comply with the offender registry laws. Parents also alleged that multiple staff members and teachers were instructed to keep his criminal background a secret. So just don't tell the parents, but we're going to let this guy who's on an offender registry work at the church because, he's got to have a job and whatever. And following intense local outcry and the withdrawal of several students, Pastor Eric Crawford temporarily stepped down and officially resigned in early March. The reason I'm covering this is because I have received word from a source very close to this. What it was is that Pastor Crawford resigned. And then what was going to happen was this Sunday, and that was, what was it say? It was March. He resigned from the church. This Sunday, they let Pastor Crawford allegedly come in and do Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and preach. And then after Sunday night service, the church was going to vote on whether or not to reinstate him as a pastor. A source that is close to the situation has informed me that the church has voted down to reinstate Pastor Eric Crawford, which means Pastor Eric Crawford has lost his job at this church. And to that, I give thanks. I thank God. I think the man has betrayed the pulpit. He has betrayed the office of a bishop, I think, by allowing a convicted offender, lifetime registered offender, to work in a Christian school and lead music in the church. I think that is a terrible conflict of interest at the very minimum. I think that and I'm going to say this, guys. I'm going to say this. I used to say that these guys are, hurting the local church. They're actually hurting the cause of Christ. This man has sinned, and we need to frame it that way. This man has sinned by putting the church in a position that has caused this type of stuff to continue. By hiring his son back and putting his son in some involvement to some degree in the Christian school, and by some involvement in the ministry there, when his own son was not even allowed to do that type of stuff per his registry orders, the man has hurt this church, and he has hurt the testimony of Christ. He has sinned, and I don't think he deserved a job. And by the way, I just want to say Heritage Baptist Church in Hazlet, Texas, I don't even know. I mean, honestly, if you guys were to vote him back in, I was going to scorch you today because you would have deserved it. I personally don't even think he needed to come back. I think y'all should have fired him, and that should have just been it. But you know, I mean, I'm past all this. Guys, listen, I am so over all this stupidity. I am so over all of it. This stuff drives me nuts. You people are all crazy. You pastors that think that that you're above the law, which is essentially what you're saying. You think that you're above the law. The church I had people when I was making disclosure say, "No, wait a minute. We handle stuff in-house because the church is the highest office in the land." No, the church does not need to be handling sex crimes internally. Okay, that's the policeman's job. You let Romans 13 take place and let them be a terror to evildoers. You let them put them people in jail, and don't you handle that stuff internally, you bunch of psychopaths. What's wrong with you people? But I just can't believe you guys. But I'll just go through this whole thing with you, just explain the whole thing to you. This was in February. Outrage grows after sex offenders' employment discovered at church school. Leadership decisions at a church-run school in Hazlet are under scrutiny as parents learned that a registered offender has been working on campus. State records show 2016 Caleb Crawford was convicted and sentenced 2 years in prison for indecency, but required by law to verify his offender status each year. Several parents at Heritage Daycare and Preschool and Heritage Christian Academy spoke to NBC, said they were unaware of his background until this week. I wish someone would have told me, Ryan Gunderson said. Gunderson's 3 children are enrolled at the school. I mean, so, you don't get away with this type of stuff today. And I don't even know if I want to go into the details of what this guy did, but basically he was messing with like a cousin or something like that. And here's the cousin of the offender is speaking out after he was found working at a private Christian school in Hazlet, revealing.
I never thought I'd be here, but I really am glad I am.
Now 27, Taylor Hamilton has spent the last decade focused on her future. But last week, her past came rushing back.
I ran into the bathroom and I was like, tears behind my eyes. I was ready to just like.
Now wait a minute. Do you notice something real quick? Now this is a young man who abused his cousin, and this girl should have been in church today, but because she was offended, because she was harmed, I want you to notice something. Look at her throat. Look at her like chest right here below her collarbones. She has a Hindu Om written there, which that seems to indicate to me that this girl's faith has been so warped and offended away from Jesus Christ. This could be a lost soul who's on her way to hell because of the acts of this Crawford kid. This Crawford kid did things to her and I'm speculating here, but this Crawford kid did things to her that made this young lady say, if that's Christianity, I'd rather die and go to hell. And I don't know her personal life, but I mean that's not a good sign. And I'm speaking with compassion and grace towards her. But you see how serious this is? This stuff sends people to hell. This stuff hurts people and hurts the church and hurts the gospel. And the people that do this are not just enemies of the church and enemies of young people. These people that do these things, that cause these harms, these people are enemies of Jesus Christ. You are not an enemy of the local church. Just that. You are an enemy of Jesus Christ. You are a hater of God if you do this type of stuff. You are a sick puppy, and any pastor who would turn his head at that and employ somebody who does stuff like this, you're a dirtbag is what you are. Hallelujah. And if you don't like that, then take my name off your list. I don't give a rip. I'm past the point of caring. I'm past the point of caring. You people are sick. You're disgusting. You're not right with God.
Drown in tears thinking that something else happened to another kid.
After Hamilton lost her mom at age 9, she and her brother went to live with her aunt and uncle. Her uncle is Eric Crawford, a pastor at Heritage Baptist Church in Hazlitt. He also oversees the attached school, Heritage Christian Academy. When Hamilton was 12, she says her cousin Caleb Crawford, 17 at the time, started. It continued until Hamilton was 14 and Caleb Crawford was 19 and left for college.
Because I couldn't sleep at night. I was a young child. I couldn't sleep. So took it to court.
At 16, when she moved out of her aunt and uncle's house, she told her father, who reported it to police. Caleb Crawford was arrested for indecency with a child. The trial in 2016 ended with Crawford taking a plea deal. He would go to prison for 2 years and be required to register as a offender for the rest of his life.
It's a big thing for me to be able to say, you know, this happened to me, but it doesn't define who I am. To be able to put a face to the name for people because, you know, realizing like this isn't just an accusation. This is something that somebody was convicted of and served time for. No matter what anyone says, he was found guilty.
Last week, parents at Heritage Christian Academy learned about Caleb Crawford's offender status.
Now I'm going to tell you this, and this is a fact, okay? And this is because this is how some of these sick puppies act. This is how some of these sick puppy preachers think, okay? They're going to look at this right here and say, there it is. These women aren't dressed right, so therefore this is just an attack of lesbians on the gospel. I know how these guys think. I know how the brain works here. Some of these men are going to say, "Well, look, there's a bunch of Jezebels attacking our church. There it is. Look at what they're wearing," and that's how dumb these guys are. That's how stupid they are. But I digress.
Academy learned about Caleb Crawford's status and his employment on campus. Parents got the police involved, and Caleb Crawford was rearrested by the Fort Worth Police Department for failure to report his job status. His father, Pastor Eric Crawford, temporarily stepped down at the church while the financial team does an internal review.
I'm so grateful, and my 12-year-old self would feel so...
12 years old, bro. 12 years old, bro.
Validated, I think. Knowing that there's a day that comes that people do pay the price for the things that they do.
An online petition supported by a growing number of parents is calling for the pastor to step down permanently and for an outside investigation. Hamilton supports this.
It's about those kids and having a voice that maybe I never had.
Which is why she's sharing her story.
I have a responsibility, knowing what I went through and what goes on there, to let people know, you know? I never would have thought that I'd be here.
But now that she is...
This is a lot bigger than just him being allowed to work around children.
I want to say this. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen, okay? Eric Crawford is not going to get this church. Two things are going to happen. And maybe one of them will happen, but I think there's a good possibility that there's two things going to happen. One thing that could happen, and that's a real possibility, is that Eric Crawford goes and moves across town and takes another church. I think that would be shameful. I think that would be just a disaster. But it's a very real possibility. Number two thing that could happen, and I think this is a greater possibility, I think that Pastor Eric Crawford is going to suddenly feel the call to go into evangelism. And he is going to preach across the country. I want this to be out there because I want this scandal to be known that this is what this man has done. This man, I don't think this man has acted in wisdom here. I think he has... I think he has committed a terrible, terrible sin. He has drugged this church into a terrible scandal, a legit pedo scandal. He has drugged this church into that, and all of God's people who sacrificed and gave and volunteered to that ministry all of that's been tainted now. The testimony of that work has been tainted because of the stupidity of this man. But there are men out there who are his buddies, and the buddy system is going to kick in. And this man is going to start getting meetings across the country. He might start preaching, I don't know, big national conferences now, missions conferences and such like. And people are just going to forget that this ever happened. And a lot of the old guard of the IFB are just going to think, well, you know, we're not here to judge. And you guys you guys took a page out of the Hiles handbook, and we exposed all that in our book. So check out this book if you want to get more info on that. There's a lot of stuff in there that we can't even put on YouTube. This video is rough enough, but there's some stuff in there we can't even put on YouTube. So check out the book, link in the description below. But the buddy system is going to kick in, and this man's going to start preaching. He's going to keep preaching across the country, and shame on any preacher that would fail, that would compromise the integrity of the local church by trying to protect their buddy, trying to give him a love offering, have him in for a meeting. I'm going to tell you this. Listen, there's a verse. It says, them that sin rebuke before all. I think it's 1 Timothy chapter 5. Let me pull it up here real fast. I'm just doing this off the cuff, if you don't mind. 1 Timothy chapter 5, I believe it's verse 21. Let's see here. Verse 20. Them that sin rebuke before all, that others also may fear. There needs to be a holy fear amongst pastors. There needs to be a holy fear amongst men who claim to be representatives of Jesus Christ. That since you're a public figure and you are leading the local church and you are, a visible person, that you better have your personal life in order. You better behave. I was telling somebody the other day, I said, I don't understand these guys that they're big name preachers and they're going off having affairs and scandals and, all this type of stuff. And then I walk to the mailbox in a pair of shorts and I kind of feel bad about that. What's wrong with guys? What is wrong with these dudes? Listen, everybody who listens to this, the day of sweeping this junk under the rug and acting like it didn't happen and betting that people are never going to find this stuff out, those days are over. When Bill Clinton was president, before social media, I know that's what all you guys did. If a guy molested a kid, you just pushed him to another time zone, called a buddy, said, hey, I got a guy who just messed up and said, can you help my buddy out here? Yeah, okay, I'll take him. Here you go, And instead of calling the police, you called a U-Haul, and you moved a guy across the country, and you just hoped that people would never find out. And back then, most times they didn't. You move your dirty son across the country time and time again, and then you moved a dirty deacon or a dirty youth pastor. I mean, there's a guy in North Carolina right now that I know that he has been moved across the country. He's fallen here. He fell there. He fell in Festus, Missouri at Second Baptist Church. I was around. I know exactly what he did. Now that all they did is move him to North Carolina and let him sit in a pew for a year. Next thing you know, he's pastoring another church down there in North Carolina. And he's done it again and again and again and again and again. And I got Baptist preachers that are big name national conference speakers that won't even talk to me because they think that the position that I'm taking on this is too controversial and they don't want to mess with that. Oh my goodness, who does he think he is to say all that? I'm a Christian is what I am. And I'm going to speak about this. I mean, you guys like me. I like Spencer when he's talking about Third Adam, but I don't like it when he's talking about abuse in the local church. Well, then you don't like me at all then. Don't like me at all. You want me to rip the charismatics, but when it comes to independent Baptists, you want me to act like nothing happened. I mean, sin is sin, sir. Sin is sin. I don't care if it happens at a charismatic church. I don't care if Phil Wickham is doing whatever. I mean, what kind of man would I be if I would not even call out Baptist? I mean, what do you? I don't know what you guys want. You guys want me to play by this playbook here, and I'm not playing by your rules. I'm gonna look. The book that I operate by is not this. The book that I operate by is called the Bible. You should read it sometimes. And when it comes to the Hyles Manual for Ministry or the King James Bible, I'm sorry if this offends you. You're going to have to deal with it, but I'm going to go with the King James Bible. Thank you very much. God bless you all. I don't have any buddies that I would cover sexual sin for. I don't have any friends like that. I don't have any friends that I would cover an affair for. I don't have any friends. I mean, I know a guy years ago that messed with a kid, and he lost his church. And then the guy had the audacity. He had the audacity to call me 3 months later and say that he was going to candidate at another church after he had messed with a kid, and asked me to write a recommendation for him. And I was blown away at just how unbelievably dumb this person was. He didn't get a recommendation. He got a rebuke from me. And I don't feel good at that. I mean, I feel real good about that. I don't feel good about him being in the ministry. The day of this is over, friend. You folks there at Heritage Baptist Church in Hazlet, Texas, thank you for not allowing this man to be your pastor anymore. I don't think he should. I think it should have been a slam dunk anyway, just for the testimony of the church. But this is what we're messing with today. This is a problem. But guys, if you want more information on why this is, go watch Disclosure, available now on YouTube. We'll see if we can put a link to that in the description. And you guys, man, subscribe to this channel for more. And we're going to talk about stuff like this, temporary theological issues, and pray for 3rd Adam 5. God bless you guys. We will see you guys later. Have a good day.